This next project that we're going to be working on is called the Macro Project because we're going to base our design and composition off of a macro style photography or picture that you take. So your challenge for this project is to create a detailed macro composition, which we'll talk about, on a black background using accurate value change, texture, and color change. We're going to be focused on using colored pencil and pastels for this project, so we're going to be practicing a lot of techniques for both of those. First of all, I want to start out by saying what a macro composition is. This is just an up-close composition that fills the frame. So it's getting rid of distractions from the background and putting a focus on the object that you're drawing. So here's an example of a flower where it is zoomed in up close on the flower. There's nothing distracting in the background. There's no other objects added. It's just the flower, and it's really up close. So part of the edges are cropped and cut out. So for your picture that you do take for this, you will need to have at least 2 of the 4 sides cropped out. So this one here has 2 sides of the flower cropped out, so the top and the bottom. So as I'm going through this, just think about what you might want to take pictures of for your project. Here are some examples of what previous students had done for theirs. These are all, you'll notice, up close so that you can really focus on the detail on these objects. Some of them are cropped closer than others, so it's up to you how close you crop your picture, as long as 2 of the 4 edges have the object cut out a little bit. So here's a great example of something that's a little bit further back, but it still has the 2 edges cut out and it still is pretty zoomed in and filling the frame. We're going to really focus on colored pencil and pastel techniques where we are layering colors, layering values, and just really focused on the details and texture that you wouldn't be able to see if this picture was more zoomed out. So here's just a few more examples. Start thinking about what you might want to do for your project. There's a lot of different directions you can take things. These are all some examples of colored pencil on a black background from online. And I wanted to show you these just to show you some different types of objects that you can be taking pictures of. So here's a few more. Again, I don't expect this much detail since these are from online or realism necessarily, but just to show you there is a lot you can really do with colored pencil. It's a medium that you can be so much more detailed with than paint because it is such a process of layering things and really focused on the small details. So think about if you want to take pictures of your pet, if you have flowers around your house or plants you could take some up-close pictures of. One thing you will notice in all of these is that there are very visible highlights, so areas that are white and areas that are black or shadow tones. And that's something we've worked on for every project, definitely important for this one. So when you take your reference pictures, and I'll say this again, make sure that you set up really good lighting or come use the photo studio. It's going to make a huge difference on the realism and detail that you're able to create in your final project. So for your reference pictures, again, you do need to take them so they cannot be found online for this project. They are going to be due on Tuesday, November 23rd, so that gives you a little bit of time to get those taken, but we don't have much time left to work on this project before the end of the semester, so we do need to be moving along, so take these pictures as soon as possible. You only need 2. They can be of the same object, just try to maybe change up the lighting or the angle or the way that you're cropping the picture. So a few things to remember when you take these. First of all, fill the frame. You need to have at least 2 of the 4 sides cropped to the edge of your paper. So that means something like this, where it is very up close and you are cropping part of the image. So this flower here has 1, 2, 3 sides where it's cropped and then just the 1 side where it's not. So get as up close to your objects as you can when you're taking pictures. Try to pick one main focal point and make sure that that is the most clear and in focus part of your picture. So one object. Set up quality lighting. hold up a lamp or a flashlight off to the side, or bring objects into the photo studio. So holding up a lamp or a flashlight, or if it's bright enough outside, if you're taking these earlier on in the day, definitely try to make sure that you can see clear highlights and shadows. I would recommend bringing in your objects if possible into the photo studio, because I will have that good quality lighting set up so you don't have to worry about it. And then I also want to mention, in the photo studio, there are colored gels that you can put on the lights to create different colors in the highlights. So here's an example of what those colored gels look like. And you just put them over top of the lights, whichever colors that you want, and it will give you an effect like this on the objects that you're taking pictures of. So you can see in this picture on the left, there was a pinkish purple colored gel and then a blue colored gel on two different lights. So that would be a very creative, interesting way to draw more color into your composition. The last thing I want to mention with reference pictures, and then we'll look at some example references, is to follow the rule of thirds when you do take your picture. So that means putting your focal point more off to the side. So if you've ever seen this grid, whether it's on Instagram when you're posting a picture or on your phone, on your camera, this is what the rule of third means, which is basically lining up your focal point, or the main object in your composition, along one of these lines, or at the intersection where the lines cross over. This will just bring a lot more interest into your macro compositions versus putting your focal point dead center. So this one, for example, the focal point would be this middle part of the flower, and instead of having that in the center of the image, it's off to the side, more in the corner. So when you take your picture, just move your camera a little bit so that object is off to the side. It will add a lot more interest into the composition. But here's some reference picture examples. You can see that they all have high quality lighting. You can see a lot of detail in these. So definitely pick some interesting objects, get up close, take some great pictures to work with. So again, make sure you're not finding any online. 2 of these pictures will be due on Tuesday, the 23rd. But when you're done watching this, go ahead and move on to practice. I have the black half sheets of paper that you'll be using for practice at the front of the room. And then on the brown shelves, there are colored pencils, where we will start with the colored pencil practice. And just follow the video for the value scales first, and then there below that are the 2 texture practice that we're going to do with colored pencils as well.